Who wants to make a delicious harvest quinoa salad? Perfect for fall. I do. Let's go. Hello there. I am excited to make this beautiful fall salad today, and I hope that you will try it too. There are a couple of key components in this recipe that really make it nutritious, but also delicious. And as always, I love it when you take my recipe and make it your own. There's a lot of substitutions you can do in this recipe, and we'll talk about those as we go along. So the first thing we need to do is we need to toast some pepitas, also known as pumpkin seeds, and we also need to roast some butternut squash. So those are going to be our first two steps. So let's get those going, and then we'll come back here and assemble our salad. Okay, all I have in this pan is a little bit of non-stick cooking spray. Do not use Pam. I love Chosen Foods avocado oil cooking spray. And I'm just going to throw in the pepitas. We're going to sprinkle them with a little salt. You can actually do the salt at the end too if you want. And we're just going to let these toast for 3 or 4 minutes on low heat. We're not trying to burn them. And you can just toast these as long as you like until you get them to your liking of doneness. I really like 2 or 3 or 4 minutes. I just like a light golden brown on them. And then these are going to go in our awesome quinoa, harvest quinoa salad. Okay, now I have taken the pepitas and I put them in a saute pan and I roasted them for toasted them for about 5-6 minutes. And as you can see, some of them are super brown, some of them aren't. It's just a beautiful combination, and they have that little bit of sea salt on them. They're not super oily, and you can hear them. I think you can still hear them popping a little bit. So we're just gonna set these aside and let them cool. And now we need to take our greens and go ahead and chop them up and make them soft. And so you could do a combination of greens. The recipe I actually put in the link says spinach, but you can use anything you want. Right now it is fall coming into winter, so leafy greens are growing like crazy. Feel free to use kale, collard greens, spinach, whatever you want. There should be plentiful because it is their time of year to grow. So what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and grab some kale from my garden. I'm going to grab some spinach, not from my garden because I did not plant it this year. And we're going to grab a little bit of mustard greens. And I think those are 2 variations of mustard greens. I did not label my leafy greens when I've planted them, and so I forget which ones I planted. Now we're going to take these leafy greens and we are just going to give them a rough chop. We really are doing this because we want them to be good in bite size. When you put them on your fork, you don't want them bigger than your mouth. So we're just going to give them a rough chop. All right, now what we're going to do is I'm going to get these leafy greens out of the way, and we're going to take these greens and we're going to put them in a bowl like so. Now what you want to do, you do not have to do this. This is just a little step that I do. I like to take my leafy winter greens and just make them a little less bitter by putting a little tiny bit of lemon juice on them and just giving them a good squeeze. What this does is this helps, actually, it relaxes the cell walls, so it makes the nutrients more digestible, but it also makes it less bitter. So I love doing this. You can leave this step out if you want to, but I like to do it just to make the leafy greens a little more mild. So we have our leafy greens good and massaged. I can smell the kale Kale has such a strong odor, but I love it. Once I do that little massage trick on it, it is delicious. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add our quinoa. Quinoa is the star of the show. A little tip when you're cooking quinoa, you just wanna do half again the amount of water or vegetable broth. So if you're going to cook your quinoa, let's say you're gonna do a cup of quinoa, you really only need about a half to 3/4 a cup of liquid, and quinoa cooks pretty fast. So you just wanna bring it to a boil, put a lid on it, put it on super low, and it's usually 5, 6, 7 minutes, it's done. Now you can boil it in vegetable oil, or vegetable broth or chicken broth if you want it to be a little more savory. Once we add the quinoa, we are going to add in some dried cranberries. Try to get unsweetened. Really avoid that popular brand that you see all the time. They are loaded with sugar, and we're trying to keep our sugar content down. We want to control our sugar. We don't want it in the processed foods that we buy. Now I'm just going to set the salad aside for a second, and we are going to make the dressing. I took if you heard the beep going off in the background, that was the butternut squash. I just took frozen butternut squash, I drained it, let it thaw in a colander, and let it drain out the excess water from being frozen. And then I put them on a parchment lined cookie sheet, sprinkled them with sea salt, and baked them in the oven for about 12 minutes. That's gonna get our butternut squash cooked through, and we are gonna put that in this beautiful salad. But right now, let's make the dressing. All right, what we're gonna do first is add in some tahini. Tahini is made from sesame seeds. Just like peanut butter is made from peanuts, tahini is sesame seeds. So if you have someone in your family that has a nut allergy, tahini is the perfect solution. I use tahini a lot in my salad dressings, in my sauces, in my marinades. Now we're gonna add in some maple syrup, one of my favorite sweeteners. You wanna make sure it says 100% pure maple syrup. We don't need any additives in our maple syrup. Next up, we need a little acid, so we're gonna do apple cider vinegar. I recommend doing apple cider vinegar instead of white vinegar. It has really good probiotic benefits. We need to balance our gut health. I'm sure you've heard that term a lot. You may not know what that means. We need good and bad bacteria in our gut, and they need to be balanced, but they get out of whack with all the things going on with toxins in the air and stress and poor diet and antibiotics. It's our job to keep that stuff balanced. And so apple cider vinegar is a really good source of getting some good healthy acid back in our gut. That's why I'm using it instead of white vinegar. Next up, we are gonna add in one more acid. We're gonna add in some lemon juice. I say this in all of my cooking classes. Get you a cheap plastic squeeze bottle, squeeze your fresh lemons and limes, and keep it in the condiment section of your refrigerator. This bottle will hold up to 8 lemons and then about 10 or 11 limes, and it'll keep in your fridge for at least a month as long as it has the little lid on it. Good little kitchen tip. Next up, we are gonna add nutritional yeast. Nutritional yeast is actually made from, they take a sugar cane and dehydrate it, and it becomes this dry, flaky substance, and we call it nutritional yeast. It actually has a taste of cheese, so a lot of vegans will use it in lieu of cheese. I'm not vegan, but I do cook a dairy-free diet, so I cook dairy-free recipes because I live a dairy-free diet. Dairy is extremely inflammatory, so nutritional yeast is a really good substitute when you want something to taste rich and creamy and cheesy. Nutritional yeast is loaded with antioxidants as well, and we need antioxidants to build our healthy cells. So that is why I chose it in this recipe. Now what we're gonna add is tamari. Tamari is gluten-free soy sauce. They just take the wheat out of soy sauce. It is still made from soy, so you want to use it in limited doses because soy can cause inflammation, but a little bit is all right, but it's better if you buy tamari instead of soy sauce because it is gluten-free. Now we are gonna add tamari. All the recipe details will be in the link below where you can grab that recipe and keep it for your very own. The very last thing we're gonna add is some garlic. I'm gonna taste it and see if it needs salt. It probably does not because of the lemon and the apple cider vinegar. Grab my spatula. Put our garlic in there. I love this garlic rocker. If you get one, make sure you get a stainless steel one. The plastic ones break very easily. So we have lots of nutrients in this recipe. Garlic is really good. It almost acts like an antibiotic. So it has a lot of health benefits. It's also in the onion family. And anything in the onion family is really good for the cardiovascular system. Onions help relax the blood vessels, so our blood flows better. So it helps regulate blood pressure and all those good things. So I tell people as a joke, the stinkier your breath, the healthier your cardiovascular system. Now we're going to give this a good whisk. I'm a big fan of tasting your dressings as you go. Measure less, taste more. All right, give it a taste. I know what it needs. It does need a little tiny bit more maple syrup, just a little bit. That lemon and that apple cider vinegar came in strong. Oh yeah, that's it. That was the ticket. That's what it needed. Okay, now we are going to assemble the rest of the ingredients in this delicious salad. And don't forget, you can add whatever you want to this. That's the joy of my recipes. If you don't have butternut squash, use pumpkin. If you don't like kale, leave it out and do more spinach. If you want an extra vegetable, feel free. Shallots, cucumber, whatever you want, right? All right, so we have the dressing, and now we're going to assemble the rest of the salad. Okay, all we have left is some butternut squash that's been roasted in the oven, and it's cooled. And of course, the beautiful pepitas. I just put them on a paper towel so they could cool and drain any excess oil. Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Check it out. Beautiful. Now, we're gonna add the dressing. You really don't need a ton. And of course, you have to lick your fingers. Gonna give it a good toss. And the leafy greens should kind of fall down a little bit and relax. You can chop it more if you want them smaller. Totally fine. Gorgeous. Healthy, nutritious. Quinoa is a complete protein. A lot of people don't know that. It's a complete protein like meat is. So you can actually, this is a complete meal. But if you want it to be a little heartier, you could top it with a delicious piece of salmon. You could top it with some shredded chicken. You name it. You could, if you're a vegetarian, you could absolutely do some crispy tofu, whatever you wish. But I hope that you enjoyed this recipe. Let me show you one more time. The final product. Delicious. Great for fall. We're using fall ingredients, fall vegetables, and I think everyone in the family will love it. I know that we do. Okie dokie. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this, and please try it in your own kitchen and do me a giant favor. If you do make any of my recipes, please take a picture of them and tag me on social media at Shelly Can Help. That helps other people realize what I'm doing so that they can make my recipes, so that they can take their health seriously and stay out of the doctor's office, because our health actually starts in the kitchen. You can learn more about me on my website, shellycanhelp.com. I'm going to go for now, but I have one question before I do. What is on your fork? Bye for now.